It's the time of the season when love runs high.
Last time on the continuing history of FM 104.
That's Earth, Wind and Fire, Triple M FM, after the light is gone. Before that, George Benson, and the start of the show.
And Barbecue Bob one day, when I didn't turn up for the early shift, said, "Oh, let me read the news." And Barbecue Bob read the news.
To work in the newsroom, you have to be well balanced. You need to respect the privacy of the individual and to use discretion where necessary.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. The man who sexually attacked a penguin in downtown Brisbane last week has won his bid to keep his identity anonymous. He's Mr. William Thomas of 13 Victory Pocket Road, phone 614-3218 after 6 p.m.
Tell us about the newsroom at FM 104.
Tell us about the newsroom.
Yeah.
Well, I was quite young when I was working in the newsroom, and I didn't respect the breakfast shift, and Rod Tiley had to take me aside and give me a fatherly talk one day and explain to me that it wasn't really on to sleep in on a Saturday morning and miss your 6 o'clock news bulletin. And I always thought I could get away with it because nobody was up at 6 listening. But he had what was called, I think it was the tapes, I can't remember what it was called, but he would listen back to see how well I'd read the news, and he'd realise that Barbecue Bob had to cover for me. And Barbecue Bob one day, when I didn't turn up for the early shift, said, "Oh, let me read the news." And Barbecue Bob read the news, and that's how I got busted.
FM 104 rocks Brisbane.
Where did it come from? The rock in stereo format.
Okay, just want to know what you think AOR stands for.
Album Oriented Rock.
Correct. Actually a fantastic format, and it basically was about not playing singles as released by record companies. It was about going deeper and choosing 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 tracks. Yeah, but I'm talking about on rotation and using these. So the tracks from the album were making up the playlist, and it was very much artist-oriented as well. It was about picking artists that had the right attitudes and had the right beliefs and the right sounds and the right, it was very much an artist-based thing. It was a fantastic format, and I always will defend it. I thought it was a wonderful thing. And there were some core artists that made up the format and other experimental things that happened, and we did that stuff but more at night. But AOR was basically, I think, have you done just your searches at Lee Abrams who devised it?
Yes, I saw that there's a video from VH1 about Lee Abrams. He initiated the format in America, and that's when radio completely changed.
But Jeff Pollock is a guy that when I was at FM 104, the boys Ted Seymour and the others brought him out to Australia. What Ted did was said, well, hang on a second. Why don't we bring one of these guys out here instead of us going to him? Let him come out and get to know our market. This was not very much practiced in Australia. There were some American consultants around the place, so they looked around and they found this guy, Jeff Pollock, who was just starting out, and he seemed to have a good track record. And so they called him and they said, "You want to come to Australia?" And so that's how that started. Now, the station that you're talking about in Denver, no, there was not an FM 104.
The actual station where you got the whole idea from, KBPI.
Yeah, that's it.
In Denver, Colorado.
Yep.
I'd like to show you some great rock and roll.
Welcome back, my friends.
Pete McKay on KBPI. With Sunday morning nostalgic rock.
Oh, yeah. Heart of rock and roll.
Steve Cooper, KBPI.
KBPI
the Rockies.
Susanna, you have a remarkable mouth.
And we have a remarkable radio station.
And they were the first station to use Rock of the Rockies. And that station, Ted and Ted was the original PD. And Rob Mackay was the original, and then Ted was the PD. They went to this station in Denver, KBPI, and they liked the sound of what was going on, and these guys were using those vocoder, the famous now vocoder IDs that everyone's tried to replicate. Well, they haven't ever been able to do it. Anyway, one of the guys at KBPI did the vocoders, did the ones and gave them to Ted and Rob, no charge. They were a gift, and those are the IDs that we ended up using for years as FM 104.
Later on the continuing history of FM 104.
Yeah, but I mean the barbecue thing was the one that got me, was because of the power strikes. And he used to come along and do his barbecue recipes because everybody had to cook on barbecues.
Well, a very good morning to you. The time is 6:30. It's Dave and Steve. It's the weekend as Steve Haddon reaches for his 14th cup of coffee this morning. I'd like to say hi, a very special hi to all the people from the Army, from the RAF at Amberley, and indeed our fireworks maniacs.
Looking counterclockwise